You know, one of the amazing things about New Zealanders is that they've got a bit of a can-do attitude, and we've heard about Harvey online. We followed all the forums and see how he's doing his brew, and I've not seen a guy with more innovation, so we just had to come and have a look at it. Harvey, how long have you been brewing?
About 2.5 years, so not that long.
Wow. I've heard of amazing things coming out of garages.
Yeah.
But here in New Zealand, you guys call them sheds.
That's right.
This is your shed?
This is my shed, or it's part of my shed. I quite enjoy just sitting here and enjoying the view, having a beer while I'm waiting for my brew to boil. You know, I'm struggling to think of a better way to spend an afternoon.
I have to ask the question, you grow your own hops. What role a product like BlackRock plays within your tinkering and all your innovation that you got?
Yeah, totally. Well, time is a huge thing. So all grain batches take a good 4 or 5 hours. With a partial mash, you get down to 2 hours.
So talk to me about partial mash.
You just use a portion of the fermentable as a extract can, and then you use the other portion as all grain mash. So you're still mashing it, you're still getting the enzymes to get sugars out of the grains. And what you find is that the can becomes a nice stable base that you can rely on. You're not going to get bad efficiency out of the can. And then the grains is where you're going to get your creative control. You can design your own recipe, you can have whatever alcohol content you like. I've done partial mash brews where 50-50 is extract and grain, and other ones where it's sort of 90% extract and just a tiny little bit of grain. And both of those have come out really good. So
it's almost similar to what breweries do with the base malt anyway, because they go out to the maltsters, they say we want a base malt, and then they do their specialty malts on top of that.
Correct, yeah.
Now, when you do your partial mashing, the kits that you use from BlackRock, is it the hopped ones or is it the unhopped ones?
Yeah, I use a little bit of both, and so I've got a few over here. If we take something super simple, you've got an ultralight can here. This is 2-row malt, so it's the American base malt. You know, good for pale ales, but also stouts and all sorts of beers can make with this one. The light is the lager malt, so if you're doing a German style, then that becomes your base that you can use for that. And this isn't hops, so you'll be doing your own hops. You're probably a full boil is how I like to do it. And then you've got the kits here. I mean, you can make a bock with this if you like, but really if you look at the BlackRock website, and it will tell you the breakdowns of what's actually inside these things. So this is mostly lager malt, a little bit of chocolate malt, a little bit of caramel malt, maybe a little bit of roasted black malt. It'll tell you the proportions, and it tells you how many IBUs of hopping it's got in there. Right. And this I just see as, okay, here's a pre-pack. This saves me having to grind 4 different types of malts. And it takes a Baltic Porter brew day. Who wants to brew 5 or 6 hours of all grain for a little 5 or 6 litre batch?
The important part we've learned, though, is that you need to watch your fermenting pretty well.
Correct,
now, I've seen a few fermenters. You got Fermentosaurus, you have some glass carboys here at the back, but there's something that we gave a try, which is fermenting in corny cakes.
Okay.
Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that. So for a start, you're paying $100 for a stainless steel fermenter, and that's fantastic value. You won't get anything on the shop floor even close to that, which is pressure capable and stainless and it's rock solid.
How do you modify the corny? Because you can't just use it the way that it is.
Yeah,
it?
Correct. So I've just been getting the Fermentosaurus floating dip tubes, which I've got one just here. So this is what they look like. You replace the standard dip tube with one of these, and it starts off like this when it's full, and then as you start draining for it, it drops down to the bottom. And what's nice about this is when you get to the bottom, where all the yeast and sludge is at the bottom, it's not going to pick that up. You're always drawing from the clear wort or beer at the top when you're pulling out of the keg. So these work extremely well for fermentation.
And then we do the quick and dirty, because that's what we did.
Yeah, quick and dirty is... these guys, you were telling me before, they chop their dip tubes, which is a bit of a one-way street, but here's a slightly more refined way of going about that. You just give it a little bend, not so bent that you can't fit it inside the keg, but just a gentle sort of bend so that it's not pulling from at the very bottom.
And then you don't get any of that sediment. And the important thing we've learned when we were doing our fermenting is once you're done, you need to transfer it, because you don't want your beer to lie on the dead yeast and the sediment at the bottom. But your opportunity with products at the moment that's available in the market, if you have to say, I'm a new home brewer and I want to get started, I'm surprised to see how easy it is not having to invest in a whole lot of equipment.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you can actually get going, because it's in the ingredients.
Yeah.
It's not in the gear.
Yep.
You agree with that?
Well, I think everybody starts off with a plastic fermenter bucket and extract kits, which is a fantastic place to start. I did 2 batches like that and then went straight into all grain afterwards. I think if somebody had shown me the partial mash step in between, I could have saved myself a lot of cash. I would have got myself one of these Grandfather Sparge water heaters. These are $150. It's a a 2,000 watt electric kettle, essentially.
Yeah, you can do it with a pot and a stove if you really
pot
want
and a
to.
stove works great too.
Yeah.
And save all the other expense and just focus on getting a good fermentation and then a nice kegerator to serve out of. I think that's what everybody really wants at the end of the day.
So one important piece of advice you want to give anybody that wants to give this a try.
The benchmark was supermarket quality, and this is what I apply to all of my things. If I make a salami, I want it to be supermarket quality. I'm not aiming for deli quality just yet, or original German quality. That's something you work towards. Start with something simple. Start with a recipe which is well proven. Start with good quality ingredients. Take advice from people who know what they're talking about, and don't try and focus on too much stuff at the same time. And that's one thing where the extract kits are fantastic, because you can focus just on fermentation and you don't have to worry about all the mash temperatures and all the whole grain side of things that goes with it. And to be fair, fermentation is difficult. There's a lot to it and there's a lot that can go wrong, and that's where you really want to focus your attentions initially.
Now, we know you're a mad scientist. We know that you're a horticulturist. We know you've got great gear because you built it yourself. But the big question I know that everybody out there is going to ask is, how's the beer tasting?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you make a good job? Have you won some prizes?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I will give you guys to take home a 2.5-year-old Russian Imperial Stout, which won me the Dunedin Craft Beer and Food Festival prize last year. And I also took the second prize and beat the Brewer recently, doing a clone of Renaissance Elemental Porter. So haven't actually tried the original.
So you just made your own one and
made
almost as good as the real one.
And they couldn't tell it apart from the original, so that's a little bit exciting.
I want to ask you the importance of Blackrock as a New Zealand brand and the quality of those ingredients.
Sure.
Is that important that Blackrock has got this eye on quality?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So if it gives you rubbish results, then how can you use that product? So of course quality is important.
Why Blackrock? Why does that one stand out for you?
I like that you get a breakdown of what's actually inside. As a beginner, you don't really care what's inside the can. You just want a kit that makes beer. You want to trust that the manufacturer's got it right. And that means I can actually work it into my own recipes. I don't like building things to other people's spec. I like doing my own thing. So that's what appeals to me. You can see what's on it. There's no tricks or surprises. It's not loaded up with sugar. It's all 100% malt, and they'll tell you exactly what's in it.
Third party opinion, you've got the Cowboys here.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we love our beer.
Good.
Hopefully this is a prize winner. You think it's a prize winner?
Oh, we'll see how we go. It's only 2 weeks old. It's fresh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't normally be drinking it. I'd normally be
No time for excuses. No time for excuses. Let's get it going. You know.
Right.
Good. That's Brendan's. Cheers, my friend. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for brewing with Blackrock. And Brendan, thanks for introducing us to Harvey. I think we're going to spend more time with this guy. Man, this is good.
Way to rhyme and reason then. Nice one. Yep.
This is balanced. It's a Bohemian Pilsner, because usually with Bohemian Pilsners I find there's a little bit of tonsil yanking going on in the back. This is balanced. It's got a really nice finish to it.
I used the Waiiti, one of the local breweries, ground up, said that they were a really great Kiwi hop that you can try subbing out. So rather than just sticking with SARS, you try Waiiti and Motueka are my two favourites. Yeah.
You guys in New Zealand are you're pushing the envelope with the hops, you're pushing the envelope with the barley and the malts out there, and we just can't get enough of your beer. So awesome.
Plenty of it, yeah.
Yeah, you should come and have more too.